Mulan 2020 is without a doubt my all-time least favorite movie and genuinely the worst movie I've ever had the misfortune of seeing. Most films this bad are terrible, but forgettable, and you can at least get some value out of how shockingly awful it is. But this isn't like most films, now is it? The difference here is that this has one of the best Disney movies of all time attached to it. A movie that came out during the infamous Disney Renaissance of 1989 to 1999. The damage this movie has done to not only the good name of Mulan, but the name of Disney as a whole is irreversible. This movie is terrible by live-action Disney remake standards. Now, you've heard it's terrible before, I'm sure, but what specifically makes this bad? First off, the structure. This movie has literally nothing to do with the original. It has as much to do with the 1998 Mulan as edamame has to do with Barack Obama. If you've never seen this before, what if I told you that Mushu, Shang Yu, Li Shang, Grandmother Fa, Mulan's 3 friends, the cricket, and not a single song from their original is in this fucking movie? At least the other live-action Disney remakes, like The Lion King and The Beauty and the Beast, kept the songs and characters intact. I mean, sure, these movies are inferior to the original, but they at least add things like a new song or a great performance or a take on a new character to at least give it value and make it worth your time. In Mulan 2020, they keep making these stupid fucking sly-ass references to the dialogue in the original movie, like in this one scene where they're just eating food at a table and one random-ass dude says, "I don't really care what she cooks like," and then they play a couple notes of the song in the background. Like, damn, if that wasn't in there, I think I would actually forget I was watching Mulan. Thanks, movie. Now, one could argue this is because they wanted to tell a more serious and grounding retelling of the 1998 film, which would be fair and a good direction to take this remake if it wasn't for how bastardized the original message and themes of the film in this remake are. Okay, this shit's really gonna piss me off. So, just for a moment, what's the whole theme of the 1998 Mulan? Like, what's the whole, message? Misogyny, sexism, subverting the norm, defeating gender roles, breaking outdated tradition. Yes, all of these are correct. It is very much a gendered story, as in this would not work if the main character was a male. In the original, Mulan is trying to break tradition to save her father and all of China, despite how women were viewed in ancient China at the time. And even though she's a woman and every man says she can't do these things, she shows us she can by working hard. This is shown mostly in I'll Make a Man Out of You, which isn't in this fucking movie, where she climbs to the top of the pole to grab an arrow, runs faster than anyone carrying water, does the martial arts and self-defense training perfectly, etc. Despite struggling and being the weakest earlier, she improved through working hard and pure determination that she can do it despite the customs in place in China at the time, which is super powerful and inspiring, especially for women. Now, what if I told you that the remake took the whole message of women can do anything and break sexist and traditional norms and wiped their fucking ass with it? In the first 5 minutes of this movie, you can see Kid Mulan trying to catch a rooster in the most asinine, cockamamie, ridiculous fashion. This kid starts doing backflips and wall jumps and jumping like 20 feet in the air and shit for no fucking reason. How can she do this shit if she's a fucking child? Let me remind you that in the original, Mulan sucked ass when she got there, constantly fumbling and falling down, but despite her shortcomings, she got right back up and kept going, and that's how she persevered, through pure determination, which is something that everyone, including men, can find inspiring. Now, to answer the previous question on how Kid Mulan is able to do all this, there is a reason. It's because she has something called chi. What the fuck are you talking about? Are you telling me that everything she accomplishes in this movie and her ability to overcome the obstacles she faces is because she was born with some magical fucking superpower? Did you watch the fucking movie? Unlike the original, Mulan being a woman has little to do with this movie since she's just some random ass person with a fucking superpower she just so happened to be born with that allows her to do these incredible things. What are you trying to say, movie? That a woman could never do these things unless she was born with this fucking superpower chi bullshit? This completely undercuts and destroys the whole fucking message of the original movie that it's supposedly based on. Okay, now for the rest of the movie, because I can keep going on why this is complete idiocy, but we need to move on. Do you guys know that one infamous clip from Taken 3 where Brian Mills jumps over the fence and there's like 15 cuts in that one action? Imagine that, but the whole movie is edited like that. The editing in this movie is genuinely nauseating from beginning to end, which sucks because film editing is one of the most important parts to a production. The story, acting, setting, whatever could be the best in the history of film, but if the film is edited like this piece of shit, then none of it matters. The movie is gonna suck overall. It doesn't even have the basics of cinematography down, like establishing shots, so it just makes it hard to get invested in the setting when it keeps jumping from place to place. Editing and cinematography is the lens for which the audience sees the movie through and allows us to get immersed visually into the story. But watching this shit will make you feel like you're having a stroke. It just keeps zipping from shot to shot with no rhyme or reason. All this movie does is subtract, not add like a true remake should. That scene from the original where it goes from a girl worth fighting for to a destroyed village is one of the best scenes in any Disney animated movie. The tonal whiplash really hits you. The silence just drives it home as Lei Shang finds out that his father died. But fuck that, let's just cut to the scene out of nowhere and talk about it like, oh wow, look at the destruction. This movie can't do jack shit right, man. All of the characters they stripped away from this movie had personality, something this movie has not a single grain of sand of. I really hope this isn't the best acting of any of these actors' careers, because there's not a single role I think was executed right, especially the person who played Mulan. Despite being Chinese, she does not fit the role at all. The writing for every single character is so bland, it's not even funny. When this movie isn't a diabolical train wreck on screen, it's boring as shit. The original movie was very cinematic. Take the scene where she leaves, for example, in the original. It's dark, rainy, and dramatic. The score slaps as Mulan cuts her hair with the sword, suits up in the armor, and rides off as her family realizes she's gone. Her dad runs out and falls and drops her hair comb, leaving us with an amazing shot of her hair comb in the mud as the door swings shut in the thunder. I bet you can guess what happens in the remake. It just cuts to her wearing the armor, leaving, and then her family comes down the stairs the next morning to see her armor gone with more stale dialogue. The matchmaking scene is somehow even worse here too. In the original, it's admittedly the worst part of the movie since the cricket ruins the whole thing for her. But since there's no cricket in this version, it's some random ass spider and Mulan uses her fucking chi and just catches the teacups and pots on fucking chopsticks using her goddamn chi. And yes, the effects and editing cuts make this so much worse. There's also a weird ass phoenix that shows up throughout the movie for no reason. And I mean literally no reason. Imagine you're watching the first Spider-Man from 2002, and while Peter's doing his thing, you know, fighting crime and driving the story forward, he just stops what he's doing, looks up at the sky, and sees a bald eagle. He then smiles at it and then keeps on doing whatever Spider-Man thinks he was doing. Wouldn't that confuse the hell out of you? Like, why is that here wasting 30 seconds in setting the story and pacing to a halt, which in Mulan 2020 was terrible to begin with? Instead of shooting the mountain with the rocket to cause an avalanche like in the original, she baits the bad guys into shooting at themselves. Wow, that really makes them look threatening and not like a bunch of fucking idiots. When they finally do figure out that she's a woman, they don't do anything or threaten to exile her like they did in the original. They just stand there in this awkward stance as they walk away and leave her in the snow. Like, her reveal of being a woman was grounded and had stakes in the original. Get this through your fucking skull, movie. If she was caught, they were going to kill her. This movie treats it like it was nothing. The new villain makes this movie feel like a fairy tale, not an actual drama that could happen. The original movie's villain wasn't really the best Disney villain, he was pretty forgettable. But what stood out was how scary and threatening he was. He did not hesitate to kill people and do whatever it takes to take over China with his army. This new witch lady looks like a cheap-ass bandit who can turn into a crow? Or a flock of crows? What? I'm sorry, but I thought Mulan was a mature and believable story. They try to make a stupid-ass connection between her and Mulan by pulling that dumbass cliche as fuck, you know, we are the same, you and me. Shit that I expect from an F-tier Illuminations movie. It doesn't matter anyway because she betrays the other villain she's working with because of how impressed she is with Mulan being a girl boss or whatever. She literally takes a single arrow from Mulan, and this makes no sense when she spent the whole movie trying to track down and kill her. And 5 minutes ago she was working with the villain just fine, but whatever, this movie clearly does whatever the fuck it wants anyways. In conclusion, if you don't compare this movie to the original, it's a boring, sloppy mess of a movie with some of the worst post-production I've ever seen that has no personality or charm. And if you do compare this to original, you're left with something that isn't just terrible, but insulting to the viewer. By stripping it away with every single little aspect that makes the story great in the original, you're left with the single greatest blunder on Disney and a shit stain on the film industry as a whole. Fuck this movie. Alright, thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys want me to do more videos like this, leave a comment down below. I appreciate if you would subscribe, it really shows me the support. And have a great day. Thank you so much.